The most admirable qualities of Lave as a theorist can be embodied in this figure that focuses on social learning. The most enduring quality of Lave is her devotion to social anthropology and her thirst for lifelong learning. She believes that learning is ubiquitous in ongoing activity that requires much more than direct teaching and a classroom. Her interest in anthropology led her to challenge the conventional idea of education in her time, to investigate the notion of learning by doing rather than learning by reinforcement of expected behaviors, shaped through negative and positive consequences and founded in the theory of behaviorism, or learning as solely constructed in the learner's mind as founded in cognitivist theory. Ultimately, this drive resulted in the development of the situated learning theory. Lave and her student, Wenger, observed that learning must include social interaction where knowledge and practice are provided in an authentic context. Been celebrated for her work on situated learning theory and looking at learning through an anthropological lens. There are qualities of her approach that are least admired. Critiques of the theory postulate that Lave fails to account for individual differences among learners and how diversity shapes the experience of the learner. According to Fenwick, 2001, he argued that issues of race, class, gender, and other cultural and personal complexities are largely overlooked. In this theory, the emphasis is on the notion that knowledge is achieved through the interaction of the expert and novice, experience of doing, and the context for learning, largely ignoring possible influences of diversity, which are also inherent to the process of learning. Students became apprentices in the field of archaeology in order to discover historical influences of the prehistoric peoples of Britain and piecing together history through the discovery of ancient objects, the relics, buried deep underground. Learners are given the opportunity to learn by doing under the guidance of an expert within a meaningful context. Without this peripheral participation, the integrity of the learning experience may be lost. Looking through the lens of integrity, which quality best exemplifies Lave as a theorist? Well, Lave is best exemplified by her focus on the process of learning, rather than what is learned. Even though it was challenging at the time, she went against what society viewed and accepted education and learning, and challenged others to see learning in a different light. She was faced with great doubt and skepticism for her theory, but she did not relent. She was able to maintain integrity because she knew that exploring alternative approaches to teaching and learning is what is best, not only for learners but also for the society. According to Callantzes and Cope, she sees knowledge as a construct of experience, social interaction, and guidance from an expert situated within a context that helps learners make sense of their learning. Lave emphasizes that peripheral participation is key to learning and that every learner can become a full community participant and thus exemplifies integrity for the learner. Education is not obtained through decontextualized facts, dates, and memorization. In order for new learners to reach the level of the expert, they must be given opportunities to practice within the context of learning within a community of experts. Lave understands the importance of bringing together the expert, the teacher in most school settings, and novice, the students in most school settings, to share experiences through practice. Knowledge and skill are past shared experiences, passed through social ties, connections, and community practice. Lens of respect, which quality best exemplifies Lave? Lave's dedication to creating context is most admirable. Her theory focuses on the need to situate all learning in a bigger, more meaningful context so that learners can make sense of their learning. She respects the process of how the brain scaffolds and builds on knowledge and new experiences under the guide of an expert community, or as Vygotsky coined it, the more knowledgeable other. By providing a clear and meaningful context for learners, Lave respects the need to provide a learning environment that not only correlates to the real world and real learning experiences, but also to the concept community of practice. This concept is underpinned by the idea that learning is a social process. Understanding the heuristics in learning as a relational process gives light to the bi-directional flow between experts and novices, not found in traditional models. This outlook allows for respect for the learner as well as the process of learning. Best quote from Lave: "Learning is ubiquitous in ongoing activity, though often unrecognized as such." Lave observes that daily learning is a consequence of ongoing practice and interaction in social groups and communities of learning. Learning just does not have to happen in one experience with a beginning and end point, but rather is a lifelong process that exhibits boundless avenues for new discoveries over time, experience, and interaction. In today's society, learning is often associated with quantitative data demonstrated by results from an assessment given at a small point, a learner's learning journal. This only provides a very small and limited snapshot of what students know and can do. In this quote, Lave is drawing the contrast between her theory of learning to how society often interprets learning. What three words best describe Lave? Collaborative, forward-thinking, innovative. Collaborative means not only is Lave's theory founded in the collaborative characteristic, but also in her own process of learning. She models and exemplifies the type of learning that she describes is inherent to all learning processes. Forward thinking means that Lave was not afraid to go against the grain and defend her own moral obligation to share her research and theories of how students learn in order to ensure the best possible learning environment for all learners of all ages. She looked at the past through her anthropological background and expertise in order to apply lessons learned to the present and future. Innovative. Cognitive theories have traditionally focused on the individual's ability to learn, which reduces the ability to learn to the learner. Lave wanted to challenge this notion by expanding on and exposing the situated learner. A value belonging or ascribed to Lave could be holistic. Lave's theory of situated learning goes beyond what the child can do and demonstrate and provides a wider picture of the process of learning. Learning is not only the sum of its parts, but rather a construct of many interactions over a lifetime. Lave contends that learning is a lifelong endeavor that has many interconnected parts. Communities of practice are founded in a series of interwoven complexities, such as mutual trust, bilateral interaction, experience, opportunity for repeated practice, feedback, artifacts, identity, relationships, and context. To justify how Lave is right in her own area, traditionally, Learning and education have been based on an individual's effort, cognitive ability, and individual construct of the mind within a learning time frame that has a finite beginning and end. Once the learner has acquired the knowledge, the learning has been achieved. In a traditional view, learning is often isolated and disconnected from real-world contexts. Lave's purpose and goal is to rethink this perspective. In her work, she proposes that learning is an ongoing process founded in community and stems from daily life experiences. Learning is a result of making learning meaningful through situated learning. According to Smith, 2003-2009, Lave believes that situated learning involves repeated peripheral participation in a bi-directional learning relationship between the learner and expert as part of a community of practice situated within a real-world or authentic environment that is meaningful to the learner. Lave argues that learning begins when people join a learning community at the peripheral. As they become more experienced, acquiring more skills and knowledge, they move further into the community until full participation is reached. Nonetheless, the learning continues. At the community full participation stage, learners continue to learn from each other. This process heavily aligns with the research conducted by social constructivists such as Vygotsky and his theory of learning through zones of proximal development and the more knowledgeable other, or Dewey and Bruner. Lave and Wenger provide empirical evidence of situations where learners achieve learning goals through apprenticeship, simulations, and roles. However, there is evidence to show that in these situations, learning is not always transferable, and there is evidence to support that learning can also occur in outside community or social interaction. Anderson et al. 1996 gives the example of a musician. The musician cannot acquire all of their learning in group sessions or shows. They must also practice in isolation and bring those skills back to the group practice. Therefore, learning is not always community-based.